Hello, and welcome to my channel, Kersey Books. For those of you who have been around for a while, I have to ask, have you listened to my new audiobook, Past Interference? I did some things different this time, and I'm really curious to get your feedback. I'm actually kind of nervous to create this video because I need to explain things, and because this is so much different than what I ever expected to have happen. Even so, I'm really happy with the way things turned out. So first of all, if you've listened to Past Interference, even just a little bit of it, and let's go ahead and play a snippet so you know what I'm talking about. So listen to this little part here.
He helped her out of his car and she heard barking coming from behind the fence. That's Sasha.
Is that her "I'm happy to see you" bark, or her "who did you bring home" bark?
Autumn laughed. Maybe a little of both, but I promise she's friendly. Jax pinched the skin at his throat.
I guess we'll see.
His tone broadcast reluctance. Are you afraid of dogs? He chuckled, but it sounded like he was not at ease.
Only of the ones that bite me.
Surprised by his obvious discomfort, she shook her head as she smiled. Slamming grown men to the ground on the football field week after week doesn't bother you, but a soft little puppy dog does.
I thought Sasha was full grown.
Autumn's smile grew. Oh, she is.
So what do you think about the sound effects? Is it distracting? Does it add to it? Let me know, because if you guys don't like it, I won't even include that the next time, because it actually took quite a bit of time to find the sound effects, find the right spots to put them in. It was pretty time consuming. So if it doesn't add anything to it, I'll leave it out. But it's like old time radio, way before my time, where you would listen to radio shows and there would be sound effects and it would be a full cast, which that's the other thing. This audiobook is a full cast audiobook with a different voice for every character. The heroine, Autumn, the parts in her point of view are told with a female narrator. And Jax, the hero of the story, his point of view is told with a male narrator. And then there's the minor characters who have their own voice. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, I do have a confession to make. They're digital voices, synthetic voices, AI voices. Yes, it's true. About a year ago, we talked about this. We had some AI voices. They sounded horrible. I said I would never use AI. It was awful. And I had plans to hire a narrator, even though it was going to be really expensive. So back in November, I went to a writer's conference with the intention of perhaps finding a narrator. I had to do some research. I had to talk to people. And on the first day of the conference, they have what's called Vendor Day, where there are people there with all kinds of products that are useful for writers. And there was a whole row of narrators, which I was really excited about. It's like, great, I can get some information. It's been several years since I hired a narrator, and I had in mind kind of what my budget would be, which I was thinking $250 per finished hour. Now, this book is almost 7 hours, so that would be about $1,750, which is a lot of money. But I thought, well, I will bite the bullet and I'm going to pay somebody. I'm willing to pay, $1,500 or so. Well, as I spoke to the different narrators, I found out that the prices have gone way up. And the least expensive one was close to $300 per finished hour, which for a 7-hour audiobook is $2,100. And that's a lot of money. And that's like the cheapest. And that's for one person doing all the voices, kind of like how it was when I was doing it myself. And so I spoke to some different narrators, and I found out if you want a dual narration where you have a woman do the female point of view, and when she gets to the male dialogue, she just makes her voice deeper. And then for the male point of view, it's a male narrator, and when he gets to the female dialogue in that section, he just makes his voice like a female. That's a dual narration. And then there's duet, where you have the female doing the female point of view, but when it comes to the dialogue, the male narrator does the lines for the male, and then the opposite when it's the male's point of view. So I can't remember exactly how much it was. I think the dual was like $400 per finished hour, which would be $2,800 for one book. And duet was like $600 per finished hour, which would be $4,200 for one audiobook. You guys may not realize how expensive they are to produce. That would be really cool to have a duet, but way too expensive. I can't afford that. And doing a full cast audiobook would be even more. I don't even know how much that would be. You're hiring a bunch of different actors, and so that's going to be really expensive, prohibitively expensive. I was feeling a little bit discouraged and thinking maybe I should just go back to doing it myself again, because that's a lot of money. And it can take a really long time, like, I don't know, a couple of years in most cases to make back the money that you invest in creating an audiobook. It's crazy. So I was feeling kind of discouraged, thinking, well, maybe I should just go back to doing it myself, because yes, it takes a lot of time, but I can spend the time, which is a little easier than spending the money. So then during the conference, I went to a class talking about AI narration. I thought, well, I know AI narration doesn't sound very good, but I'm going to go see what they have to say because I'm interested in this topic. So the presenter played a sample from his audiobook, and as I listened to it, I was stunned. It did not sound like AI. It sounded like a real person. There's emotion in the narration. There's inflections in the right places. There's breathing, taking breaths like a real person does. I mean, I was stunned. So I thought, this could be an option. Like, this is something I could do, because you have to pay for it. And the way you pay for it is by character. So like, a character would be a letter, a space, a punctuation mark. Each one of those is a character. So you pay for a block of characters, and you put in your chapter, you break it into sentences, you highlight a sentence, you say, I want this voice for this sentence, this voice for this sentence, and then you generate it. And the thing that's really cool is if you don't like the way it sounds, like the delivery of that line of dialogue doesn't sound good to you, you generate it again, and it'll sound often completely different. And you just keep generating it until it sounds the way you want. Now, each time you generate it, you're using characters from your allotment of characters that you've paid for. So it's like you don't want to generate it a million times. Like you sometimes it would take 3 times, sometimes even more. And then there's all these things you have to do to get there's a lot of work involved. It's not like pressing a button and the book's done. I probably spent 70 or 80 hours doing this audiobook, like longer than it would take me to actually just create it myself, me narrating it. It took way longer. But then again, this was my first time doing it, and I was learning tips and tricks and things, because after it's done, then you download it, and then you need to go through and edit it, because you have to edit out places where you say she yelled, or things that help the AI know the delivery it's supposed to give. So you have to edit that out. Sometimes the spacing between sentences was too long or too short, so I would have to take out some space or add some in. I mean, it was pretty crazy. But it's a full cast audiobook, and I think it sounds great. I think it sounds better than I did. I'm not a professional voice actor. I never claimed to be. We all know that. And some people thought I was AI. And you know what? Maybe my narration sounded more like AI than this AI sounds. And the thing is, it's getting better all the time. So I'm really excited about it, and I hope you guys like it. And I didn't want to tell you ahead of time that it was AI, because I don't want you to be listening for it to be AI. Because if you're listening for it to be AI, you're going to hear that it's AI. But if you don't know, you probably won't even realize it's AI, which is shocking, but pretty amazing. So, yes, past interference was made with a synthetic voice, multiple voices, and that's how I'm planning on doing future audiobooks. Now, like I said, I spent 70 or 80 hours on it. I should not take that long on the next one. Maybe 40 or 50 hours for the next one. I don't know. But you know what I did? I found the software where I can track my time, because I want to know how long it takes. Because it is very time consuming, I'm not going to be putting a book out every month. It'll be like every 3 to 4 months. Because what I'm thinking is I'll do an audiobook, and that'll take up my entire month. And then I will focus on writing for a couple of months. And then an audiobook for a month, focus on writing for a couple of months. That's my plan. So, Past Interference, which is a football romance, but there's also suspense. In fact, let me tell you what it's about. Jax Cordova, defensive end for the NFL Sacramento Vipers, isn't looking for love. But when a woman crashes into him at the mall, he's intrigued. Too bad she won't tell him her name. Widowed at 24, Autumn Foster is ready to move on. But when she finally dips her toe in the dating pool, strange things start to happen to her. Things that scare her. When the police don't take the incident seriously, and even Jax starts to doubt her, she fears for her safety, and she fears she'll never find true love again. So, it is a romance with suspense. And I don't know. I think it's really fun. So I hope you guys like it. I just want to pause here really quick and say thank you to my newest patrons. Patrick, Delcia Otero, Reese Witt, Lynn Murray, Wayne Scott, Mark Myers, and Neil Perry. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And my audiobooks are over on my Patreon without ads, and that's what you get for $5 a month. You can listen to my entire audiobook library with no ads if that's something that's important to you, and it supports me, and I really appreciate it. So thank you to you guys and my other patrons who have stuck with me for a really long time. That just means so much to me. Also, I uploaded this audiobook about a week before I put it on YouTube, so they got early access as well, so that's another perk. So I'm curious, if you've listened to Past Interference, what your thoughts are. Do you like the sound effects? Please tell me that. And do you like the full cast audiobook? Or is it distracting when there's different voices? I hope you like the story. Like, that's the main thing, right? The story. So hopefully you guys like that. But I'm curious what you think about the production of the audiobook. Also, I am going to make these audiobooks available to purchase on my Shopify store. If you go to KristineKerseyBooks.com, but my books are there, and I'm going to get my audiobooks up there for purchase if you guys want to purchase them. And I'm also looking into putting my audiobooks up on other places, but not every place will allow AI audiobooks yet. Some places do, some don't. But I'll tell you, it's just crazy how much AI is like taking over. It was a really hot topic at that conference. A lot of people feel really strongly about it. But the thing is, a lot of authors, they spend tens of thousands of dollars creating audiobooks and they never make the money back. And that's not a good way to run a business. If you have a negative ROI, that is not a good way to be successful. So as a business owner, which is how I have to consider myself, besides just being a creative and a storyteller, I have to run my business like a business. Because if I don't make an income from my job, I can't keep doing it. We all need to make an income so we can pay our bills and buy groceries. For me, I felt like I could take the time to do the audiobook versus hiring somebody, which is a big outlay of cash that I may or may not make back the money I spent. And honestly, I really like the way it turned out. I love that it's a full cast audiobook. To me, that's so cool. Like, to have a female voice for the female point of view, a male voice for the male point of view, the right voice for each line of dialogue, and they're all different depending on the character. I don't know. I think it's really cool, and I hope you guys like it too. But thank you so much for listening to my audiobooks. Please tell your friends and family about them, and I will work on the next one. But first, I've got to buckle down and keep writing the 5th book in my EMP Collapse series. People keep asking me when that's coming, and I'm so glad you're excited about it, but I haven't really been working on it that much. I'm about halfway done with it, and I've just got to buckle down and work on it. And so I've got to put aside audiobooks for a couple of months and just focus on writing that book. So that's my plan. I appreciate you sticking with me. And again, thank you for supporting me.